Hey, what's up guys, Totally Dubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review for the Oppo Find 7. So I've got three phones in front of me, two of them being the Find 7s. Guess which is which? Well, it's pretty easy. On the left I've got the Samsung Galaxy Note 2, which is my mum's old phone. In the middle I've got the Oppo Find 7 in white. It's got a smart cover which is in blue at the moment, but here is its white cover just to prove it. And I've got my Oppo Find 7, which is the carbon black. And if you're wondering what this is just a little sticker I put as like a Velcro pad that's used for my portable amplifier. That's not included with the package. Now the reason I have two Oppo Find 7s is simply because I was very fortunate enough to get them at a reduced price of £230 per piece, which is absolutely sensational. The reason I got this at that price is simply because I attended XDA Developer Con 14 and therefore I was able to buy it at a reduced price. However, this review is going to be at the £400 price tag, which is the normal price tag you'd pay for a brand new Oppo Find 7, so do bear that in mind. Now, getting into this phone, I'm going to make some comparisons to the Note 2, but we're just going to leave that for on the side when we talk about the specs of the Find 7. Before talking about the specs itself and actually going into detail about what my opinions are and my thoughts are on each of these specs, I'm going to just talk quickly about the build quality. The build quality of this phone is really solid. It really is a great built phone. It almost reminds me like a cross build between a Samsung, a HTC, a Nokia and an iPhone. And the reason is quite simple. First of all, the Samsung has always been known for having a removable back, and as you just saw just a moment ago, yes, you have a removable back which is bendy and plastic. This is almost like a Samsung design. The Nokia feel comes from its weight. It's quite a weighted phone, and that's why I feel like it has like a Nokia feel to it. Its screen is nothing like the Nokia where it's curved, like a curved display, but its back and its feel on it in your hand will feel quite similar to a Nokia Lumia. The HTC comes from its curved design at the back. I feel like the HTC One or the One M8 has this kind of like curved design just at the edges, which means that gripping it feels kind of comfortable. And then the iPhone comes from the edges. I know these are now almost a standard in all of the high-spec phones, or the flagship phones should I say, but it's iPhone which really came out with the metallic design on the edges, and that's what I feel that the Oppo has. So therefore it's almost got a little bit of everything, a little bit of influence from every manufacturer, which is an amazing thing. And yes, there shouldn't be any copyright issues or any infringements in that respect. It's just literally a design collaboration that I guess Oppo have looked at or designed it from the ground up in terms of what could we make the best feeling or best built phone. And this really does depict to me a really well built phone. It really feels really nice in the hand and really solid. If you drop it, I don't think you'll fear of breaking it. In fact, I've actually dropped this phone once completely accidentally, and it dropped and didn't even cause a scratch. Yes, it probably dented the floor if anything. Yes, it's not a Nokia 3310, but it is a pretty well built phone. And yes, before you ask, it doesn't bend in any way. It's a really solid phone. So enough about the build quality, let's talk a bit about the specs. So as you saw, I had a little a picture I took of my computer screen, so yes, it's going to look pixelated in case you didn't see that already, but I'm going to talk about the specs and also talk about my opinions of the specs themselves. So the biggest thing for me is the screen. As you can see in the hand, it's a 5.5-inch display, which is absolutely huge. It's phablet size. In fact, the Note 2 also shares a 5.5-inch screen, and when that came out, that was known as a phablet. For some reason or another, manufacturers are seeing it as a standard to have a 5.5-inch screen. I'm not sure why. I'm guessing it's potentially due to the resolution, but this new big screen era is kind of a little bit annoying. Too big, in my opinion, for a one-handed operation. That said, I've got reasonably big hands, and therefore it's just bearable for one-handed operation. I don't use my phone with two hands, and I really don't like using a phone with two hands because it reminds me of a phablet. For me, I like using a phone with one hand, and unfortunately a 5.5-inch screen is a little bit too big for your average user. With that said, its resolution of 1440p and with a pixel density of 534 ppi, which is insanely good, is beautiful. It's eye candy. Look at a proper wallpaper with 1440p, then you're gonna absolutely love it. Are you gonna be able to tell the difference straight away against 1080p? Probably not, but going from 720p, even my mum said, wow, this phone looks beautiful, and it does indeed. And this is also because it's got an IPS display, and the IPS display is really, really nice to look at. However, IPSs for me are really known to be great at angles, and unfortunately this phone fails. The reason why is probably due to its glass screen. Now I'm going to show you a comparison between my mum's Oppo and her old Note 2. So as you can see straight away that looking straight on, you can look and you can say, oh, it looks pretty similar in terms of luminance. As soon as I start bending them, look at how the Oppo has faded. If I do it even more, you can make it even more apparent. It might not be that apparent in the video, although I could see it even looking at my camera screen, but in broad daylight with the sunlight hitting it, the Samsung comes out on top by a huge mile. Unfortunately, the Oppo really struggles, almost like the LG G3 reviews that I read, about its sunlight performance. Unfortunately, if you're going to be in a sunny country, this might not be a phone for you, simply because in broad daylight it's quite hard to see. And yes, all phones that you can see right in front of you are all on maximum brightness. My phone that's running a CyanogenMod base, which is on nameless Android 4.4.4, is slightly dimmer than the stock ColorOS, but that does not mean anything when it comes to this comparison of a stock ColorOS and a stock Note 2. So in this respect, all I can say is the screen is not fundamentally flawed, but has not come that far in terms of phone technology in order to give it that beautiful IPS viewing angle that you normally get on a normal monitor. In fact, my monitor is a PLS screen which uses IPS technology, and that is my daily driver in terms of a monitor. And I love its viewing angles. Unfortunately, as I'm trying to say, it's not quite the same case on the phone. Also, whilst we have the two displays up here with both the max brightness and both stock OSs, you're able to see the color saturation is vastly different. If you can see over here, there is a slight color saturation on the Samsung, and you won't be able to see it on the camera, but in person the phone has a slightly yellow tinge. Even my mum pointed it out whilst looking at it. She said, oh, the Samsung has got a slight yellow tinge. Despite her owning the phone for about a year and a half or something, she is correct. AMOLED screens have this yellow kind of tinge, or sometimes blue kind of tint to it. So it is a case on AMOLEDs that they're going to look more vivid in terms of color, but they're not going to look as truer in terms of color. This is a true display. This is a vivid display that looks quite nice in terms of comparing colors. So if you are someone that wants eye candy and something that's gonna pop out in terms of colors, then a Samsung AMOLED screen would probably be best for you. But if you're someone a bit more analytical and wants to see the true colors of pictures or videos or something like that, then something like an IPS display or something like the Oppo Find 7 phone will be better for you. Anyway, enough about the screens. We'll come back to that in the conclusion. I'll just leave the phones in the background. So moving on with the specs, you can see the weight is 171 grams. And remember I was alluding to the Nokia Lumia? Well, it's the same case. The Nokia Lumia is quite heavy in terms of its weight is pretty similar. And this has the same kind of weight of a Nokia Lumia. So therefore it's quite heavy at hand. The phone comes with an internal storage of 32 gigabytes, which is plenty in my opinion. However, if you're not happy with that, no worries. You've got up to 128 gigabytes. Yes, you read that right, with a micro SD card expansion. So yes, it has a micro SD card expansion, and that's found at the back of the phone. This is brilliant because micro SD cards for me are a must-have, and for me when I was looking for a phone, I needed a phone with a micro SD card expansion, and I inserted a 32 gigabyte micro SD card in there, and I'm very much happy with it. The phone also has a 3 GB of RAM. This is not quite memory, but it is also the way that the phone works with the CPU and all of that, all that good stuff. But yeah, the 3 GB of RAM is plenty. I have never felt that it was stuttering, be it on ColorOS or on a Cyanogen base ROM. I felt that the phone was very, very snappy, and that 3 GB RAM is plenty that you're going to need for all your day-to-day operations, be it you're going to be heavy multitasking or not. So 3 GB RAM is great for the phone. The camera itself, you've got a front-facing 5 MP camera, which is really, really nice, especially for taking selfies. And the rear-facing camera is 13 MP. Unfortunately, that rear camera was a little bit disappointing, especially in low light conditions. When I put it in low light conditions, it reminded me of my old Samsung Galaxy S3, where it kind of failed in low light conditions, and where an older Galaxy S2 beat it completely out of the water. And this is the case. This is the same case with the Oppo Find 7. Despite its 13 MP camera being really good in bright light and well lit areas, as soon as you take it to low lit areas with no flash, you're going to start having a lot of problems. You're going to start having a lot of pixel, sort of a lot of image noise, and unfortunately you're not going to get a great image. You're probably going to get a blurry image while you're at it as well. So therefore, if you're looking to take low light shots, then this is not the phone for you. However, pop on the dual LED flash and boom, there you go, no problem with low light. The flash is very, very present and very nice. As you can see at the back of the phone, it's over here. So in terms of the camera, it's a little bit of a hit and miss depending on your operations. Now the OS that it comes bundled with is a little bit disappointing. It's Android 4.3. 4.3 is pretty much decades old now, and the reason I'm saying this is because this is a flagship phone. One would expect a flagship phone to be shipped out with the latest Android. Unfortunately, it is not. However, recently ColorOS 2.0 has pretty much become public, and therefore it's running on 4.4.2. My mum's phone that you can see over here is running ColorOS 2.0 and it's 4.4.2. So that is a good addition. Does it bring that much difference between 4.3? Yes, in my opinion it does bring a nice addition, especially the fact that the Oppo ColorOS is now with a unified display, unified storage. Unified storage is something I should mention, and I forgot to mention when it came to internal storage. Essentially, when it came with 4.3, the unified storage and the lack of unified storage meant that you had a system storage of 3 GB of internal storage. That's not RAM, that's the 32 GB over here. And therefore apps couldn't fully install. If you had bigger apps like 6 GB apps, they wouldn't install. They would just refuse because your storage wasn't unified. Unified storage is pretty much a norm, and I was very surprised to see it in the Oppo Find 7, especially being a flagship 2014 phone. However, this was the case. Luckily enough, with the ColorOS 2.0, it comes with unified storage, and therefore solves that problem of not having not being able to install apps with over 3 GB of required space. So this is something quite important, and it's something I'm going to allude to in terms of my overall opinions of Oppo themselves when it comes to upgrading their OS. I'll leave that to just a little bit. Now, its CPU and GPU are absolutely mind-blowing. They've got 2.5 GHz, Crate 400, which is a quad-core CPU, and you've got Adreno 330. Now, its CPU and GPU combined, especially with the RAM, absolutely fly this phone. Make this phone fly, should I say. On stock OS, it's fast enough, but when you put it on a custom ROM like a Cyanogen base ROM, it is mind-blowing. It is the fastest phone I've ever used, be it trialing, demoing, owning, or anything like that. It is really an amazing phone. What they've done, what developers have done, or even what the Oppo developer have done with Oppo, with the Oppo ColorOS is amazing, and I really like it. In fact, I should mention bloatware and things like that, and on ColorOS I was very much pleased to not find that much bloatware. In my opinion, it was like a crossbreed between stock Android and TouchWiz from Samsung. It was almost like the in-between, which is the perfect blend for me. Not too much bloatware, but not too little bloatware. In other words, certain functionalities that you might like that might not be present on stock Android. For example, like a theme store that you can get on the Oppo Find 7, which allows you to browse through thousands of themes to your preference. For example, my mum's phone is running an ICS theme, so therefore it looks like an ICS phone. That's ice cream sandwich, by the way. So things like that are quite nice to see. Finally, I'm going to round it off with the battery. The battery has a huge 3000 milliamp battery. The battery is also removable, as you can see over here. And what's more impressive about the battery, or should I say the battery life, is the fact that it charges ridiculously fast. This phone is pretty much, I think, the first phone to really integrate 4.5 amps of current to take in. That means 4.5 amps is quadruple, or 4.5 times more than an old Samsung Galaxy S3 or a Note 2. It is also double the amount of an Apple device, which takes about 2 amps or 2.1 amps. So 4.5 amp of current is crazy. And what this means is that your phone charges ridiculously fast. If you were aware of the Nexus 6, yes, the Nexus 6 has the same feature, and it's probably going to have the same sort of amperage of a charger. This is great because what happens is that you can charge the phone from 0 to 75% in literally 30 minutes. I'm not kidding you, it takes literally 35 minutes using its fast charge. The fast charge comes with what it's called VOOC. It's VOOC. It's a VOOC charger, and you plug that in and it charges it super fast. If you don't want to charge it super fast, no worries, you can use your standard charger, you can connect it up to your PC, no problem, but it will charge at a lower rate. If you want to use that fast charging ability, you're going to have to use that charger. And unfortunately, that charger is really bulky. In terms of size, it's pretty much as big as the phone, and it's extremely thick. But that said, you need to convert that energy somehow, and therefore, that's what it needs to be that big. So fair enough to Oppo, you have a big charger, but it's warranted. The fast charging is really, really amazing. I use it all the time. Before I'm going out, quick charge it, 30 minutes, boom, I'm at 100%, no problem. I mean, like if I was going from 30% to 100%, 30 minutes would do it. From 0 to 100, it would take about 45 minutes to an hour. From 0 to 75 is when this fast charge is really activated. That's where it takes 30 minutes. Just like a little FYI to you guys. Now, in terms of battery, I should also talk about the battery life. Now, I've been using this phone on nameless ROM, so it's a little bit unfair to compare it, but I also was using it back when I first got the phone on ColorOS 1.2.6i, so that's before the 4.4.2 update of ColorOS 2.0. But essentially on 1.2.6i, I really found the battery life to be really good. Unfortunately, battery saving features were a little bit hit and miss for me. You could limit some certain things, but you can limit all of them. Fortunately, that is fixed in ColorOS 2.0, where you can literally limit everything, literally almost everything apart from the functionalities of basic calling and messaging, which is actually really cool. You can also limit its CPU frequency in 2.0, which is something that was lacking in 1.2.6i. So this is something similar like the Samsung's feature of power saving, where you can actually go on power saving mode and enable it, i.e. power saving mode right there. So it's enabled. I always have it enabled on a Samsung device, but in this respect, without power saving mode, the battery was great. With power saving mode, the battery was insane. For a phone to last about a day and a half for me is decent, because to be honest, I get home, I pop it on charge, and if anything, I'm not limited like an iPhone user. I've got an additional battery, and yes, I can put this additional battery in, get an extra day and a half usage out of it. So battery life, despite the complaints I read online about it, it is decent. Of course, it depends on your usage. If you're going to watch videos for 5 hours straight on your phone, it's going to deplete really, really quickly because of that screen resolution, because of that screen size, and because of your brightness settings. So that's all variable, but for normal day usage, I found it to be excellent. So to wrap this up and to talk about all these specs all in one, and also to talk about Oppo as a company themselves. Now, what I like about Oppo is the fact that they've come out with a phone which is a flagship device at a reasonable price, and also come out with something that is quite interesting to use. It is a little bit of a different experience in comparison for TouchWiz users, and it's something that reminds me of a Samsung phone, but at the same time has got that functionality of a custom OS that you can install. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit disappointed with Oppo. Oppo have been a little bit annoying when it comes to updates. They've been very, very slow. 4.4.2 came out once Android L got announced, just to give you an idea of the lag that they've got between updates. If you thought Samsung was bad with updates, you know, Oppo is on another level in terms of that. But if you're someone like me who likes flashing, and if you're probably watching this video as a subscriber, then flashing your phone is pretty much open there. There's no locked bootloaders like the crap Knox that Samsung bundled onto you. There's none of that. And on top of that, you're pretty much free to do whatever you want. You can flash a ROM, you can flash nightlies, you can do whatever you want. And this is really cool. In fact, look at that. I just got an update to get a nightly installed. So, you know, all of that is really good, and I really commemorate Oppo for actually saying, look, developers, come to our forums, develop on our forums, and on top of that, we will encourage you to develop. I like that. But unfortunately, talking for stock users, I was a little bit disappointed. It's a little bit hit and miss with Oppo. But with the phone itself, if I look at the phone itself, be it on stock OS or even be it on a Cyanogen mod base, what do I think of the phone? Well, I think it's an amazing phone. Would I recommend it for £400? Little bit hit and miss. The reason I say that is because of the availability. It's not very easy to find. You'd probably be better off buying an LG G3, which has the same specs but can be bought in every single shop across the world. But on the other hand, the Oppo is very much well designed, and something that I didn't really find with the LG G3. You know, the design of the LG G3 seemed a bit weird, whereas the Oppo Find 7 seemed a bit more natural. Also, the Find 7 is slightly bit cheaper than the G3, so it might make you consider that. Now, with the Nexus 6 coming out, can this rival it? Well, I don't know. I personally bought it at £230, and at £230, Nexus 6 won't come anything close to it. But for £400 for your average user buying it, it's going to be a little bit hit miss for Oppo. If they bring down the price a little bit, potentially it'll be even more popular with people around the world. So overall, guys, I really like the phone. I really do recommend it, and I use it every day. So does my mum, and we both love our phones. The resolution is amazing of the screen. The size is a little bit big, but great for browsing and watching videos. The camera is a little bit of a letdown, but it can do. And overall, the OS experience, be it on custom or not, is good, and sometimes absolutely mind-blowingly fast. I should mention one more thing which I completely forgot, and I apologize for doing so, is sound quality. The sound quality of the speakers is very good, but unfortunately due to its placement, it goes into the palm and sometimes gets muted. In terms of that, I should say muffled. But its audio jack is again a little bit hit and miss. Over a Wolfson chip on a Samsung Galaxy S3 or S1, I would prefer an S1 or S3 due to its more warm and bodied and full sound. The Oppo sounds a bit more neutral, and unfortunately its low end isn't that great in comparison to Samsung devices. But I use it every day. As you can see, I've got an amplifier attached to the back pretty much permanently all the time on it. So therefore, I can recommend it for music, and it's not something I would shy away, almost like the Galaxy S2. So overall, guys, make sure you do check out this phone if you're looking for a flagship device. But more than anything, make sure you look around the subject and look if this phone is right for you. Personally, it's right for me and my mum, and therefore I got both phones. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and definitely favorite and share this video. I know it was long, but I